Hello, everyone, and thanks for taking the time to review the Cupertino real estate market analysis for May 2008. My name is Robert Whitelaw, and I am a licensed California real estate broker, a member of the National Association of Realtors, and a certified ePro. Now, let's go ahead and jump right into the supply and demand numbers for May of 2008. First, we're going to look at the inventory numbers, and unlike the rest of the county almost, there's a few other communities that kind of share the dynamic that Cupertino has. Cupertino has had a fantastic market. It has been a seller's market now for quite some time. The latest numbers don't change that perception at all. We've actually got better inventory numbers now, if we consider low inventory numbers good, and usually it is for sellers. We're better than we were in 2005, 2006, 2004. Cupertino is really enjoying a fantastic market. So right now, inventory is actually up 11% from last year, but remember 2007 was quite a bit down from 2006 and 2005, but we still haven't risen in 2008 to the levels we were in 2005 and 2006. So while that's an increase, it's not something that I think anyone should be overly concerned about. So I think what we can say here is that maybe the market is affecting Cupertino a bit, but not enough to even nudge it close to being what I would describe as challenging the current seller's market. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the listed homes that were listed in the month of May of 2008. We can see that we've actually seen a dip. In fact, going back to 2006, we've seen a dip in the number of homes that get listed. We actually saw a 10.4% decrease. That's a total of 7 homes fewer than last year, for a total homes listed of 60. Now, the total homes on the market, I didn't share that data with you, but there are 81 homes currently on the market in Cupertino, and that's up 8 from last year, and that accounts for that 11% increase that we noted earlier. Now the next important number, and that's how many homes are actually selling. And as we can see, the number is, again, down from last year. So even though the rest of the market was suffering in 2007, we saw an increase in sales in Cupertino in 2007 to the point where they were selling almost as many houses as were on the market. Look how close those inventory and sales numbers are in 2007. Now, obviously that is an amazing market. That's a stunning situation. You just don't usually see that. But still, even now, we are still seeing an amazing performance when you compare the inventory numbers to the total number of homes sold. Now, sales actually dropped 23.3% from 2007 to 2008. Again, not something I would be concerned about. It doesn't challenge the current seller's market. Things would have to change a whole lot more before that would happen. The total number of homes sold was 46, and that was down 14 homes from the same time last year. Now, if we do the math as we like to do with these things and come up with a ratio between the inventory and the total homes sold, we would see that we have about 1.8 months worth of inventory in Cupertino. So if the inventory numbers froze right where they are now, and the sales numbers, the number of homes selling per month froze, it would take us a little more than a month and a half, a little less than 2 months to sell all those homes. And that's a great number. As I've mentioned before, I don't start really getting concerned about these types of numbers until that ratio goes up to about 4.5 or 5. And 1.8 is fantastic. So no reason for anyone from these numbers, if you're trying to sell in Cupertino, no reason to be concerned as far as the amount of people out there looking to buy your home. For every home that's trying to get sold in Cupertino, there's almost 2 homes on the market. There's actually about 1.5 homes on the market. So that's a great number for sellers out there who are trying to get their homes sold. Now, let's go ahead and look at just the past months now. We're not looking at the numbers for past the same month in past years. This is going all the way back to February of 2007. And the first thing we're going to look at is inventory again. We can see the trends. Now, these are all normal trends. Remember what we talked about in previous shows about seasonal influences. What you're seeing here are exactly that. Once we hit December, which usually is the lowest point for inventory, we start to see an increase. And that's very normal. And between March and April, we usually see an increase. We saw the same thing last year. We saw a bigger increase this year in inventory, which might be a bit of the down market influeing it, more people jumping into the marketplace to sell their homes. But then after April, we usually see a dip in Cupertino, and we see a bigger dip, which is actually better for the market. So that would argue against the negativity of the market influence, the market's influence, simply because obviously homes are getting taken off the market through sales. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the same numbers. Now between last month, between April and May of 2008, we saw the inventory drop 14.7%. Now, the bar that just appeared is the homes that were listed in the same months, and that dropped 31.8%. Kind of interesting, simply because we usually see less of a drop. Usually at this time, it's usually relatively flat. Between April and May, we usually see the same, about this ballpark same number of homes getting listed. And this time we actually saw a pretty substantial drop, which might be the news of a negative market affecting sellers' decision to sell. Even though right now it's a strong seller's market in Cupertino, there are folks out there who might just be reading the Mercury News, hearing the bad news, and thinking that it's affecting them as well when it's not. Now, so the number of homes that were listed between April and May of 2008 dropped 31.8%. But look at this next number. The total number of homes sold, big increase, 70.4% increase from last month, and with a steady rise from January. Excellent numbers for Cupertino. This is exactly what you'd like to see in a real summer market. Inventory numbers go up, but then the number of homes that get sold brings that number back down in a steady rise. So from January, February, March, April, and May, all the way up, we're seeing nothing but increases in the number of homes sold. That's a healthy summer season, and Cupertino is definitely enjoying one right now. Now, what can we expect in the following months? Well, we would expect a little bit of a peak. If we use last year as a model, we would expect a little bit of a peak this month, which we've gotten. And then in June, we would expect to see a bit of a dip in sales. And last year, we actually saw a substantial drop in sales that then picked up again in July. But I would expect to see something on par with that. Now, how healthy this market's going to be for Cupertino could really be indicated by next month. If we see as big of a drop as last year, then that would indicate that this market situations are still having a little bit of an influence. The season has been shortened a bit. But if not, if it's more mild, it might indicate an overall softening in the negative effects of the market that are really affecting other areas around Cupertino. But we'll see how that goes. Next month will be some interesting numbers to compare to this month. Now, if we go ahead and we just look at the ratio, this is the number where we compare inventory to total number of homes sold. We can see that while back in 2001 and 2003, we had some pretty tough times in the market where we had a lot of homes on the market and not a lot selling in Cupertino. Just not the case right now. The market's been very healthy since 2003 in Cupertino. Last year it was very good, despite the fact the areas around it were suffering badly. And we've seen a bit of an increase of about 0.6, but that's really negligible when you take into consideration the overall performance of the market here. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the home prices. These are always interesting, and as if you listen to any of my other presentations, you know that almost every other area now has seen a downturn in the sales price. We've seen it even in areas like Los Gatos, which have also typically been as robust as Cupertino. But let's take a look at what we've got. Now, these are the average sales prices, and again, we have another year from when you compare year-to-year changes, we have an increase in the average price of a home. Now, again, we sold 46 homes in Cupertino. The average home price change is up from 2007 to 2008 is up 4% for an average home sales price of $1,299,204, and the median is hugging very close to that number at $1,250,000. And again, the median just tells you where the middle line is. If you took all the homes, the prices of all the homes that have sold, all 46 of them, and put a line right down the middle, that would be the halfway point. So half the homes sold above $1,250,000 and half the homes sold below $1,250,000. Sort of gives you an idea of where things are spread. When those two numbers are closer together, I think that actually shows a little bit more health in the market because you're getting both the high and low end homes sold. Now, the highest priced home in Cupertino sold for $2.148 million. That was also what it listed for, so there was no reason for that seller to come down on their asking price at all. It was only on the market for 8 days, just over a week, which is pretty amazing considering what's going on in the rest of the county. And those are real numbers. I double-checked that to make sure that that wasn't a home that was relisted or had any other, had been on the market for a long period of time where a realtor took it off the market for, say, a month or so so that it would look like a new listing. None of that kind of stuff went on. This is a legitimate sale, and the numbers are good. The lowest priced home was on Manette Place in Cupertino, and that sold for $662,000. So the lowest priced home in Cupertino in May of 2008 went for $662,000. Now this one did have to come down in price a little bit from $700,000. If you're familiar with the area, this is just off of Johnson Avenue over by where Lynbrook High School is. So if you're familiar with that area and some of the homes, some of the neighborhoods there have some of the older homes, those one-story sort of homes that I think most of us have seen if we've driven down that way. And I think the problem with that home was that it was a little bit overpriced, but it did sell for, it was original list price was $700,000 and sold for $662,000. But it was only on the market for 29 days. So 30 days or less on the market in Cupertino is the worst case, one of the worst case scenarios. Now the average price per square foot for the homes that sold was $688.69. That's, again, a great number for sellers to be able to recoup that amount. It's actually down a little bit from last month, though, when we had $711 per square foot. But, again, none of that's anything I think anyone needs to be worried about. The market in Cupertino is as strong as ever. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at how the home prices have been moving in the short term here, going back again to February of 2007. We can see relatively flat performance since around December and January, a little bit up, a little bit down. We're actually up a little bit from last month. We're up 1.6% from April to May. The median price change increased by 4.3%, so a bigger increase in the median prices of homes than in the average price, which tends to indicate that homes below that amount, there are more homes below that amount than there were previously. So some of the homes, we've shifted the sales emphasis from the higher price homes maybe a little bit to the lower price homes here on this particular period of time in May. Now, so the average price was $1,299,204. Now, as far as trends go, we can see that we saw a little bit of an increase last year at this time. We're seeing the same thing this time, a very mild increase. In fact, if we're going to call anything, we'd have to say that probably in June we'll see another bit of a boost and then a bigger boost in July and August for the hotter summer months for Cupertino. I don't see any reason to suspect that we're not going to get similar performance this year as we did last year. So that being the case, folks right now selling their homes in Cupertino are looking at the probability of getting the highest dollar for their home in the next 3 months. We'll see if that pans out to be the case. Again, that's something I'd almost be willing to bet on. I don't see a lot of chance of that varying as it did from last year, simply because other areas aren't doing that either. But we'll see how things go in the coming months. Now let's go next to how many days it's taking to get homes sold in Cupertino. Now again, this is going to be a comparison to previous years, going all the way back to 1998. The days to sell is up. The average is up to 27. That's an 11-day increase from the same time last year, or 68.8%, when it was 16 days to get a home sold. 27 is still would be an indicator of a very strong market. I don't see any reason to be concerned about that. Statistically, we did have a few homes, one home in particular, that was at the very high end on how long it had been on the market. It had been on the market for 161 days, and it was a unique amount of time. Most of the homes had been on the market for far less. If we removed that 161-day home, that number would drop much closer to 16. It'd be much more on par with, say, 20 days or 21 days. So since there's really just, when we have a smaller sample like this, I like to take a closer look at the numbers to see if there's a home like that that's kind of skewing the numbers because it's just so out there. And in this case, we do have one. So take that 27 days as sort of with a grain of salt, simply because it's a little bit too high to reflect really what the average experience was for homes that sold in Cupertino in the month of May. Now, the average days on market for the active homes is 28 days, and the average length of the escrows was 29. So all good numbers for Cupertino, including days to sell. That's a deceptively high number, as I've mentioned. So sellers are really in a great position right now to move into the summer and get their homes not only sold, but sold at probably what they're asking for them. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the same days to sell numbers just in the past months. Again, this is going back to February of 2007. Now, despite the fact we have a slightly artificially increased days on market, when compared to the previous month, it's actually way down. Now, the days to sell is actually down 47.1% from last month. That's a change of 24 days. But just in overall, you're seeing all the things that would be seasonal influences. The December and January numbers are very high, but the rest of the year has been very respectable, and we're actually down quite a bit from last year. So, man, I tell you, if you have a house and you're trying to sell it, Cupertino is a great place to be. For buyers, if you've got the flexibility, if for whatever reason you really want to live in Cupertino, you're not going to get as much house for your money, clearly. Cupertino's still enjoying a strong market. A lot of surrounding areas you may want to consider where you can get sort of some of the benefits of the down market that are really playing into buyers' hands as far as being able to make some homes that would be out of reach previously very much affordable. So if you have to live in Cupertino, maybe now isn't the best time to start looking. The hot prices are really doing well. They're at an all-time high, and it looks like they're going to head into even higher numbers here in the summer. Now, that's really it for Cupertino. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to my analysis on these market situations in various cities. If you'd like to visit my website and see any other articles I've written on real estate, look at any other market analysis reports I've put together, or listen to my weekly podcast, you can find it there at the website. You can also email me with any ideas, suggestions, questions, observations, or anything else at robert@soldbyrobert.com. You can also call me if you'd like to talk about real estate or any problems you might be having at 408-852-0525. I'd be happy to help out. Also, you can reach me if you're more interested in chatting online. You can find me at AOL Instant Messenger, Google Talk, and Yahoo Instant Messenger with my screen name, The Rebel Broker. Also, if you visit my website, you can just click the chat button, and that doesn't require any special software. You do it right there in the browser, and we can chat back and forth using that. Of course, I appreciate referrals. If anyone you know or you yourself are interested in buying real estate in the Silicon Valley area, I'd be more than happy to help you. Please use any of the methods I've outlined above to get in touch. Thanks again, and have a good day. Bye-bye.